How would you describe soft white underbelly for somebody who's never experienced it?
It's just people being very vulnerable, telling their life stories. And sometimes it's drug addiction stories, sometimes it's mental health issues, sometimes it's gangs, sometimes it's sex workers, sometimes it's, I also enjoy some of the talks that are just regular people like you and me. But even people like you and me, if we're a good storyteller, we'll have an interesting story to tell.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has a story, but the stories that you're able to unearth are, I mean, only like fiction comes close to the kinds of stories that
I recognized early in my life, long before I was ever doing anything close to this, that there's something about my personality that makes people open up and relax. I don't know what I do. Like, I'm not thinking of like, what can I do I just recognize that. Like, I remember I was doing, I forget what I was doing, but there was this biker dude that was around. He just like took a liking to me and started telling me like all this crazy shit that was going on in his life. And I'm like, what the fuck is he telling me this? And I've experienced that many, many times in my life. And I don't know what the hell it is about me, but I'm not judgmental. Like if you're like, I've interviewed a lot of sex offenders, child molesters. I'm not going to sit here and say, man, you're a fucking creep. You're like, what the fuck? What's the matter? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit back, listen and learn and try to see things from his perspective. Like in the comments, sometimes like when I'm interviewing a sex offender, I'll read comments like, how did, like he raped her, his daughter or whatever, jeez, young daughter. And the commenters are all upset because I'm not reprimanding this guy for being a rapist or whatever he is, predator. I'm just like trying to get him to open up. So I'm going to like say things that he might be the way he sees it. Because all I'm trying to do is get information so that maybe we can use it towards trying to figure out how to prevent this in the future. But if I just came out and said like, dude, you're a creep. What's the matter with you? We're not going to learn anything. He's not going to open up. We're not going to learn anything. And we're just going to be like, all right, there you go.
Be hard to find new interviewees too.
Yeah. But the same thing with the Ku Klux Klan or a pimp or whatever. I try to, what's the word? I try to just make it appear like I'm on their side. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm like, I think for myself, and I'm not on anyone's side. But with a person like that, you're not going to get any information unless you really get them to relax and open up.
Do the stories, because it's hard to tell because you're not on camera when you're asking questions or reacting to like what you're hearing from these interviewees, but to what degree do their stories like get under your skin? Because you
I mean, I used to think that they don't, and I've done over 9,000 now. It'll probably be 10,000 this year sometime, later this year. So I've certainly done more than my share, and I used to think like, because I'm operating 2 cameras, I'm by myself, I'm just a one-man band. So I'm operating microphones, cameras, thinking about the next interviewee, thinking about this, that, my phone is going off, I'm getting text messages, like there's 14 things are going on all at the same time, and I'm trying to ask you a question about whether you had kids, and you just told me you had kids 7 minutes ago, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything, I didn't absorb everything. So I used to think that I would go through these talks and not really absorb it, because I'm trying to do so many that I'll get one, I post every day of the year, and by doing so many, I'll get one that's worth using. So you're basically curating all these stories, and these are not professional storytellers. These are just people. I mean, now I'm doing a wider variety of people and not so many homeless people. But whatever the case, you're not guaranteed of getting a great storyteller or great speaker. So I have to do a lot of them in order to get those really good ones, the gems. But I would do all these talks and think that I'm pretty resilient, and they won't really get to me. But after doing it it's been 6 years of doing it every single day now, I think my body has just started. There's a book, I forget the author's name, but The Body Keeps a Score. Yeah. And Gabor Mate also says the similar thing, that your body will pay a price for all of that trauma. And I'm not living it. I didn't get molested by anybody. I didn't get beaten by anybody. So, but I am hearing these stories, and so in small doses, I'm getting a lot of that. Part of it is I'm really good at moving forward. and I don't really dwell on the past too much. So you tell me a story, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I get it, delete and move on to the next one. So I'm not really soaking them in too much. But a really good storyteller will really get me worked up. You know, I get emotional sometimes.
Have any of them ever felt like too much to bear? I mean, I could tell you off the top of my head. I mean, there's a few that, like, your channel is one of my favorites on YouTube, and
Thank you.
there was one that I was watching. Was it Ashley? Who, I mean, she had been blinded in one eye.
That was one of the ones that really got to me.
Insane.
Here's this beautiful girl. Obviously got involved in drugs, and she's on Skid Row. And what is the term that dabbing? Is that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Dabbing, where the addict will take like a hot pipe, I think it is, and touch it to something to get the smoke out of it, and they'll inhale that smoke. So somebody, apparently she was passed out from her fentanyl or whatever she was doing. So she's passed out, and they opened up her eyelid and they dabbed her eyeball. So take a red hot pipe and touch it to the eyeball, and they blinded her in one eye. Like, somebody did that to somebody I know, they wouldn't be alive. I don't know how I'd handle that. Just a crazy story. And it's like, and she was just kind of, you could tell that she was just numbing herself of that.
Totally.
Just getting high, and like, I don't want to think about it. She hasn't seen a doctor. Just really a terribly sad story. So some of these stories do horrify me. But, you know, I really believe that I'm doing something that might be helping our society somehow.
What was that transition like for you, going from
Advertising?
Yeah, advertising.
It was advertising kind of changed over the decades I did it. And it turned into something where the client was dictating pretty much all the creative decisions and how things were shot. And Norm from Iowa is telling us how to do our jobs. And it just became no fun anymore. The money was okay, but it just wasn't fun. So that lack of freedom really kind of built. And you were just a plumber installing a sink that the housewife bought. That's all I was by the end. So I quit that in about 2018. And I just kind of drifted around, didn't know what I was doing. Had just gotten a divorce. My mom had just passed away. Like, a lot of things were just upside down in my life. Gave up my career and all that. And I said, and I was selling a house. And the house sale was going to be my retirement plan. So I wasn't going to have to do anything except just live off the proceeds from that house. What am I going to do I was building a spec house, so that was going to take a few years. So what am I going to do for those few years? And I figured I remember I had a studio on Skid Row many years ago when I was doing advertising, and I enjoyed shooting that stuff. And that's when I started doing the interviews, but I stopped it after a few years. And I I got another studio downtown, and I started doing those again. And I just really enjoyed it. I just got in a groove, and I just kept doing it every day. And the channel took off, and within a year, I think I had 1 million subscribers. Just took off.
What is it about you, do you think, that attracted you to?
And so to answer your question, the freedom that I have now, I can interview whatever the fuck I want every single day of the year. If I want to interview a pimp, I interview a pimp. There might be some commenter saying, I'm tired of these pimp interviews, or the sex workers, or the drug addicts, or whatever. I see those comments, but I'm not doing it for the audience. I'm doing it for myself and what I believe is the right thing for us to be aware of as a society. And if some commenter somewhere doesn't like a sex worker, like, fuck him.
Yeah,
he's not smart enough to know what's really going on in this country. When I post a video of a 13-year-old prostitute, I do it for one reason: to show us how fucked up we've gotten. That there's 13-year-old runaways selling their ass on the street. That's right. That's cool. We're all good with that. We're all just going to sit back and like watch a video and just like, okay, see you tomorrow. Apparently, I don't know.
No, definitely.
I just think making us all aware of this is going to be a great first step in terms of solving the problem. Because I can guarantee you, before I started doing these videos, nobody knew there were so many. There are thousands of 13, 14, 15-year-old girls out there selling their ass right now. Run away from home, not living with their parents. Same thing with the drug addicts and the dealers and the gangs and the pimps and the prostitutes, all this stuff. Like, no one really understood the how much of it was going on and what it really looked like. And now we get to learn by what's causing it and all kinds of stuff from my videos.
You learn a lot about trauma from watching your interviews. I mean, just how the depth of the wounds that these people often have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, more often than not, like they there are so many interviews that you've done that start out like with the subject. I had a great childhood.
Yeah,
and then,
that happens a lot.
Yeah,
I had a great childhood, and then they start going into it, and like, yeah, my stepdad molested me when I was 8, and like, what part was great? Yeah, it's crazy.
it's like a cautionary tale, like for how to.
Yeah, it's a Scared Straight program.
Yeah,
For parents, for kids playing around with drugs and weed or whatever. It's like you talk to every single drug addict, they all start like, I started smoking weed when I was 10, and then it all unfolds after that.
It also makes you realize how difficult the homelessness problem is, like, because a lot of your subjects, at least initially, were down like on Skid Row, which for those who don't know, it's like a city in LA.
It's like a city.
It's like the size of a city.
Yeah, it's a city adjacent to downtown LA, which is basically a home for homeless drug addicts.
I don't know what interview it was with you, but you were saying something like, when you have a wound that size, whether it's you were molested by your parents or whatever, there's like a deep seated sense that you don't deserve any better.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's really kind of the little nugget that really got me wanting to learn. I'm doing this to learn, and I'm sharing what I'm learning. But I was really curious about what is it about, like we all have, you, me, everybody has a tendency to self-destruct or self-sabotage, whether it's our relationships, our careers, our health, or whatever. And I'm just fascinated, like, why would we do that? I mean, alcohol is the best example. Why would you fuck your life up and your career, lose your family, lose your house, lose your car, lose your everything, just to drink it away? And your health is going to fall apart and everything. It's like, why would, or gambling is a fascinating addiction. But what is it that drives us to do that? And where does it come from? And sometimes I'm not, even after 9,000 interviews, I'm still not 100% clear. It's probably a mix of a little bit of genetic this and some of the trauma of childhood and not being loved unconditionally as a kid. I'm sure that plays into it somehow. It's a complicated problem.
Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.